Okay, we've learned this Fabrengen before. But certain things we learn over again. This is one of those Fabrengens. So let's just get started. All right, this is a Fabrengen of the similar year like this year, meaning that Shabbos is the 25th of Elul, which is the day of creation of the world. So the Rebbe starts to bring in Slichos Shabbos Parshas and some Vayelech, like this year, Chaf Hey El, the 25th of Elul, and it is the year Tafshin Yud Gimel 1953. So like this, the Rebbe instructed the Chassidim to sing the song. He said the
you know what? I'm not seeing the same start as what you have. I see Aleph, I see Bet.
Okay, hold on a second. What are you seeing in Aleph? How does it start?
Chaf, Chipchik, Kuf, Admar, Rebbe, Shlita.
Yeah, that's where we're starting. So Kvoi Kedusha Shlita, the Rebbe.
I heard Kodesh, so I didn't hear Shlita.
Yeah, sorry. The Rebbe instructed Lenagin to sing the Maimer song, and he said the Maimer of Zeh Hayom Tchilas Masecha. This is the day of the beginning of your handiwork, which is referring to, of course, creation, and also how the Maimer explains that's actually referring to the day man is created as opposed to the day the world is created. Okay, after the Rebbe said the Maimer, the Rebbe says like this: although it explains in Chassidus, as explained in the Maimer, when we say this is the day of the beginning of your handiwork, Kayal Rosh Hashanah, it's referring to Rosh Hashanah, meaning to say the 6th day of creation. Not on the 25th of El, which is the first day of creation. Okay, so this Shabbos would be the day that 5,785 years ago, God created the world. Nevertheless, Zehayim Tchilas Masach is referring to Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of man's creation. Although we don't talk about it and we don't celebrate it, and Rosh Hashanah is not on that date, but there is something about the beginning of creation as far as the first day goes, which is on the 25th. The idea is like this.
So the 25th is the creation of humans.
No, the opposite. 25th is the creation of the world, the first day of creation
of the world. Oh, right. And then Rosh Hashanah is the creation of humans.
And Rosh Hashanah is the 6th day, which is creation of man. So the Rebbe is saying that we still have some sort of a celebration, so to say, or some sort of Indian idea, which the Rebbe is going to explain about the 25th. We know it's brought down in the Megillas Esther. We say the pasuk these days niskarim. When you remember the word niskarim is from the word zecher, from when we remember them. V'nasim, they're done. This is a pasuk that refers to that when we remember something is as if we're experiencing it. Shevechol shana v'shana, that which the pasuk is coming to teach us in Esther that every year. It returns and awakens the things that happened on that day. So if on Purim, the Jewish people had the celebration with all the details of what happened on Purim, when you remember it, every Yom Tov on Purim, it re-evokes and reawakens the energy of the first Purim. You could do a raya minigla de Torah, and there is a proof about this in the revealed parts of Torah, which says, Shaboit kines hayayin ubahitzais smadar. It's a Mishnah in Gittin. I have to check what that proof is. And I have to check what that is. But in some way, that's an indication where there's a concept of niskarim v'nasim, that when you remember something, it reawakens the energy. Therefore, every year, when we have a different holiday, for instance, Chag Pesach, the holiday of Pesach, Meir in Yetzias Mitzrayim. So then, the energy is the leaving of Egypt. So that's the energy of Pesach that we remember each year. And what is the sort of say, what are we reliving on Shavuos? Is marrying into Matan Torah, is the idea of giving of the Torah. That's where it applies to other things. That when you live something, when you experience this thing, even if it happens many years ago, it reawakes that energy of the first time. So obviously the idea of the 25th of Elul is when the world was actually the first day of creation of the world.
So it's not the same as saying that the energy of that kind of energy is there at that time, and then we notice it. It's because we notice it, the energy is there.
Excellent point. Exactly. It's probably a combination of the two. That it's there, and by remembering it, we connect the energy to the present. Meaning, the energy is there for us to remember. When we remember it, it's the v'nasim. I mean, there's two very good a very good deal. There's 2 points that Esther is saying. That it says niskarim v'nasim. By remembering it, it happens. But the happening is the energy, the ability for it to happen is because it once happened. The ability for it to happen now again is because we're remembering it. Very good point. So he says like this. This is also understood. With regarding the 25th of El, that the world was created. Every day, every year, it awakens again. The idea of creation. The literal understanding of this is the beginning of your handiwork. Meaning, although we apply the verse to the intention of God's handiwork, which is man, which is the 6th day, but there's still the actual practical, which is the actual first day of creation, which happens on the 25th of the month of El. So the Rebbe says, "Va'av again, va'av Rosh Hashanah nikra tchilas masacha." Even though, like the Maimer and the Rebbe explains, that the real tchilas masacha, beginning of your handiwork, is the 6th day, which is when we celebrate Rosh Hashanah. The Yais Yoim Bayri Adam Rishon is the day that man was created. Shu Ikra Bria, that man is the main of creation. Meaning, main is the main purpose of creation is because it's for man to accomplish something, not just to experience something. Other creations are just there. Man has to make change and work and do avoda. There must be the concept of the beginning of your handiwork connected to the 25th of the month of El. Here the Rebbe goes into. This is what the Ran, meaning Rabbeinu Nisan, who lived in Barcelona in Spain, in the times of the Rishonim, and I'm assuming around the time of the Rambam. Hadamrin, and this I think is after the Rambam. Hadamrin, and this is what we say. Zayem tchilas masacha al yitzir adam kamrinan. So the Ran says it's not just a Chassidic idea. The Ran says this, that we say Zayem tchilas masacha is al yitzir adam kamrinan. It's on the formation of man. Shabai nigmar ha'olam, when the world was complete on the 6th day. The Ran continues, but on the 25th of Elul is tchilas brias ha'olam. That's when the world started to be created. Messiah, I mean, literally today we're those who are ready. We're going into we're the 24th. We're literally completing the end of the first day of creation today. And tomorrow's a new beginning. So therefore he says, Messiah, and the Ran continues. Barcelona. Therefore the custom was in Barcelona, and its surrounding areas. That people would wake up early on the 25th of El. Means not even if it's Shabbos, if it's Shabbos or any other day in the week, that when the 25th of El, if they woke up early in any time, they woke up especially early on the 25th to celebrate and the kind of to do this chira, the remembering that something unique has happened on the 25th, which is the creation, the beginning of the creation of the world. So the people in Barcelona actually didn't just talk about it, they actually implemented that it was part of how they lived, that they woke up early on the 25th of the month of El. Next page, page 185. The Gamadaris Chassidus, not just in the Ran, also in the teachings of Chassidus. Although the most of the Chassidic discourses, when it discusses the verse, this is the beginning of your handiwork, is applying it. The Chassidus applies it to Rosh Hashanah. When it comes to the 25th of El, it's not so. There's not such a strong awareness. Chassidus doesn't really attribute much awareness to the 25th of El. The Rebbe says, however, the Rebbe says, I did find one place. The Rebbe says that he found that even in some place that there's some sort of reference that the 25th is also something, and he says in footnote number 9, maybe the idea is the Divra Maskell Rosh Hashanah Tov Reish Lamed Beis in the year Tov Reish Lamed Beis. Shesham Mevor Shebechinas Chitzonis HaShefa Kvar Nimshach B'Chafei Bel Akol Hashanah. In the Rebbe's Maimer, in the Rebbe Mirash, I believe, the Rebbe Mirash's Maimer from Tov Reish Lamed Beis, which would be 1872. So there is an indication that there's some sort of external energy that already comes down on the 25th. That gets that the internal energy, which comes down with the blowing of the shofar on the 1st of Rosh Hashanah, on the 1st of the new year. Okay. So the Rebbe said this. We could try to understand this more at length. In the different explanations given in Chassidus, ala sheila on the reason on the question, Ma'adua nikfer Rosh Hashanah b'yom Aleph Tishrei Yom Vav the Ma'aseh Bereishis. And Chassidus it asked the question in many of the discourses. And Chassidus throughout the years, throughout the different Rabbeim, asks why is it that way? Why do we celebrate Rosh Hashanah on the 6th day of creation, not on the first day, not on the first day of creation, which should be the 25th of El? V'lei b'chafei b'El. Yom HaRishon Shel HaBriah, which is the first day of creation. Because the first day was that God is his nature, his kichafetz chesed, he wants to be kind. It means God's nature is to be kind. He wants to be kind, and he gives without any avoda, because the creation had no avoda. There was no inspiration for creation. There was a thought of inspiration, but no action of inspiration. The achshav, however, now that's only then. In the beginning, God is chafetz chesed. He wanted to be kind. So although there was no initiation by man, by avoda, to inspire, there was only the concept of inspiration. But today it doesn't work like that. Today, every yerida has to have an aliyah. It means every inspiration from God has to be inspired from our avoda. And therefore Hashem says that Hashem wants us to awaken him and to inspire him through our avoda. That every year, when the Jewish people stand on Rosh Hashanah and they daven and they say, be king over your creation, that causes God to become king. So God was king the first day of creation without avoda, because he's kind. But after that, he wants us to inspire him. Why should I be king? We have to beg Hashem and request Hashem to be king over creation. That's why Rosh Hashanah is not so much about the Yom Adin, although we call it Yom Adin, the day of judgment. Before we get to judgment, we have to make sure we exist. And that's why we say, be king, keep the world in existence. It's a new or that comes down every year for this year. So it says, and only afterwards does Hashem come the king over his nation Israel. Cover Rosh Hashanah b'yom bari Adam. Therefore, when we want to talk about Rosh Hashanah, we're not celebrating God's initial kindness of creation. We're discussing the God should be king, and the discussion only started on the 6th day when there's man. Because today, in order to bring down the light, it's not going to happen on its own. We have to inspire Hashem to bring the light down to the world, to bring the energy of creation. However, the Rebbe says, in order for a man to be able to do avoda and awaken from below, and inspire God from below, and through our avoda, through our awareness and an awakening of below, it's going to inspire God, an awakening from above. God responds to us. This is another concept always brought down in Chassidus, that it works circular. It's not that the Jewish people have to initiate and they just start off and they inspire God. God has to enable us to inspire him. That's called the Sirusa Delayla. That's the idea of king in the field. That's the idea of Niladoi Dividoi Dili. So there's the concept of God creates the environment for us to inspire him. And we see that a lot of times in relationships, especially in relationships in intimacy, that it works that way, that there's a circular of how the inspiration starts, who initiates and how it is initiated, and there's a setting as well. So the setting and the makom that we can inspire him has to come from God. And what is that? That's the 25th of the month of El. What do you mean that there's this setting, that there's a world? First, there has to be a world. And in the world, we work in the world to do avodah. So the Srusa Delayla, the God initiating, so to say, the ability for us to inspire him has to have a setting, and that setting is the world. And when is this awakening from above? There's the difference between There's really in Chassidus explains 4 levels. There's this Rusit Leil, there's an awareness from below, from above, that inspires us to do. But there it's just an enabling. It's not, God's not doing anything. He's enabling us. He's kind of pushing us along like king in the field. The just very fact that the king is in the field, it creates an environment to go see him. Then there's the avoda. You have to go see the king. That's something you have to do. And then there's a response to avoda. God responds to our avoda. And then after that, there's the third level where God gives us a blessing, so to say, or a light that's even beyond our efforts. Meaning, say initially there's a response based on the mathematics of it. How much you give is how much you get. You worked that hard, so you get that reward. And then God overrides that system and gives even more than as long as we try to the max that we can, even though we're limited and God's limitless. So he gives us a limitless blessing, even though our avodah is limited. But he says, what's the first inspiration? So to say, the setting for us to inspire God. That doesn't happen on the 6th. When man was created, because then man was already created. Then right away, the second man went into creation, he right away has to do avoda. And what was the initial avoda that Adam did? As soon as Adam was created, he said to all creation, let's go and bow and kneel to God. So there we see that not only did Adam and Rishon himself go to a corner and daven, he looked around him and he saw all creation, animals, trees, everything, and he told the whole creation he inspired the entire creation to serve Hashem. And that's our job till today. But on the 25th of Elul, then it was the Asrus Leila that God was, because he was kind, so he created the world. And then on the 6th day, when man is created, right away started Avodah. But on the other side, even though the 25th of Elul is the inspiration from above to inspire us to do Avodah, even today we have to do avoda. Means the first day of creation in the first year, there was nothing to do avoda. But even today, to get God to inspire us to create the setting on the 25th of Elul, that also requires avoda. Like it says, and that's why the Ran says that in Barcelona they woke up. They didn't say, well, if God's making a setting, what does it have to do with me? I'll turn over my bed and go to sleep. Thank God is taking care of things. No, the people were conscious about it. And he said, if God's about to give a chitzoni sa'or, he's giving an external light, a setting for us to serve him. We're going to be sleeping. They woke up early in the morning in Barcelona. Once man is created, meaning the first day of creation, the first year, ha'adam hukva shakol inyanim is established. And then anything, no matter what, even something that God initiates, king in the field, has to also be inspired by us. Nimshach avodah has to come through some sort of avodah. Sometimes the avodah is to be proactive, to do something to bring down the light. Here the avodah is to be a vessel, to be available, to be there, to be aware that there's something happening. You can't be sleeping in your bed on the 25th of the month of El when God is about to create the world. You have to get up early, be available, be there to see the scene. Means how do we make sure that we internalize this inspiration that God is inspiring us to do avoda and to become real with it? That we should be connected to the strength and enabling that God gives us to serve him properly on Rosh Hashanah. Even for that, there has to be preparation. You can't just take it for granted. And we have to be a vessel. That we should be able to internalize that God is doing something for us. He's creating a setting for us to inspire him. Be aware of that. It's mamish. It's incredible. This applies to today in relationships with people, right? Just be aware. Pay attention. What's happening. Don't take things for granted. You come home and the house is clean. You come home and there's things waiting. There's a love in the environment. Don't take things for granted. Understand that there's effort to have these things and that make it available. Then the Rebbe continues on page 186. Even though waking up in the morning is nothing compared to what God is doing. So it's just being a vessel, but it's not that we're kind of on par of what's happening. He's doing it because he's kind. As we know in Chassidus, there's a difference between the response from God, that is he's responding to our avodah, and or God giving that's on its own, not by inspiration. Nevertheless, when God responds to our avoda, it's all in proportion. It's in proportion to the world and in proportion to our avoda. Masha'enkin, however, when God initiates, that happens on its own, whether it's before we do avoda or even after we do avoda. Nevertheless, Shmitzad Atzmi comes, so to say, on its own. He and therefore has no real relation to us because it's not about us, seemingly. Nevertheless, Mikomak and the Rebbe says, even though we say, what's important? Why do I have to wake up on the 25th of Elul? God's going to create the world anyways. He's making a setting for me to serve him on the 6th day, on Rosh Hashanah. Whatever I'm going to do is small. I'm waking up early. That's going to make a difference. That's not the point. Be aware. Just be aware. Be part of the story. Don't just expect everything. And therefore it says, our teachers have taught us, a person would rather have a little bit of their own. Kav is a measurement. Have your own measurement than to have, it's the continuation of the verses of the saying, is to have 9 portions from someone else, right? You can have your own portion, something you created, or you can have 9 times that, but it's given to you. The Gemara says, it's a very true statement, a person would rather work for their efforts than to be handed out. And that's how, that by having a little effort, being aware, paying attention, even though you're not creating it. God is inspired on his own to create a setting for us to inspire him. But be aware, be up, be part of the story, even though it's not going to change. It's much greater than anything you could do. But in that way, it lets you internalize. You're part of, you paid attention to what happened. And the Rebbe continues in Sif Daled. The Rebbe says like this: Kivan shekol inyani shel gilui, b'yedei simcha v'afka. Anytime we want to be connected to revelation, anytime we want to be connected to flow, has to be with simcha, with happiness and joy. Shinyana gili, simcha is revelation. The person is happy, the person is revealing themselves. Harimov, and it's understood. If you want to be part of a story, be part of the awareness of the great light that's happening on the 25th of Elul, that God is creating the setting for us to inspire him. That's beyond our avoda, because he's not doing it because we're avoda. We're just there. That has to be with tremendous happiness. We have to be up at 25th, but we have to be happy. The Rebbe says, once you have to remember, this is the 25th of Elul, 1953. The Rebbe this is Shabbos, that must be Shabbos with Slichos, like this year. So the Rebbe says, when he said Zachar Bris, which is part of the literature of the Slichot, they were kind of shuckling. And shuckled means they were kind of off balance. Why were they off balance? Because they had a little chaim. They said a little chaim before, which is the custom to say a little chaim before Slichos. If I bring the whole night. The Rebbe says it seems like when the Hasidim came to Slichos happy, the year was a happy year. We could use a happy year coming forward. The Rebbe finished. Because there's just a few days left before Rosh Hashanah. We still have enough time to awaken the simcha within us. Don't go into Rosh Hashanah gloomy. Our avodah should be with happiness. And when we have happiness, we could jump, we could spring. So we should jump into the Shana Chadasha, to the new year. V'yitin Hashem Yisbarach, and Hashem, the Rebbe now blesses everyone. Hashem should give. Shana Simcha should be a year of happiness. Umleach Chayis, and full of energy. A happy and a lively year. And the Rebbe said to sing a lively song. Okay, the Farbrengen continues. Sif Hey, bottom of page 186. Isa Zohar, the Zohar says. It's a famous Zohar, very interesting. That on the 25th day of the 6th month, which is the month of Elul, Chaf Hey Be'elul, 25th of Elul, well, the Girsa Achas, and the Rebbe says there's a version of this Zohar that says it's going to be on the 7th day, i.e., B'yom Shabbos and Shabbos. Yoytze Koyach of Bnei Yisrael is going to shoot forth a star from amongst the Jewish people. As the verse says, Derech Kochav Miyakov, a star will go forth from Yaakov. V'yivla v'yichol ayin kachavim, and it's going to swallow up and include, so to say, all the other 70 stars, achrinin. And what are those 70 stars? Shreim Zimal Ayin Umas, representing the 70 nations. Well, the Seif Ayin Yom, and after 7 days, Yavim Mashiach is going to come. So the Zohar says on the 25th of Elul, and that year it's going to be on Shabbos, like that year 1953, and like our year this year. And a star is going to shoot out from the Jewish people that's going to kind of swallow up the 70 stars, which after the 70 days is going to come Mashiach. What that means exactly, we don't know. But the Rebbe continues.
Well, we definitely need help now. That's
We definitely need help now. Yeah, it's definitely a good time. The Rebbe finished off. Ata big for the Mashiach, now in the foothills of the coming of Mashiach. Like the Rebbe said, we already completed all the deadlines for Mashiach to come. Now the only thing left is for Mashiach to actually come. Whenever he comes, and to have questions on God, there's no point to ask questions. Why do we have to go through all the deadlines and still Mashiach yet hasn't come? No one's asking us to do God's math, to do cheshbonis, to do calculations. Imkain, whether it's yes or no. If this is the right time, like Yishani, you just said this is the right time. Everyone agrees it's the right time, but we can't do God's math. At the end of the day, right now, we just need Mashiach to come. Therefore, the Rebbe says, the Rebbe said this in 1953, that all the limitations that are even mentioned in the Talmud goes into halachic questions. Can Elijah the prophet come on Friday? He's going to bother the people from preparing for Shabbos. Can Elijah the prophet come on Shabbos? How is he going to go out of the limitations of Shabbos? The Gemara goes into all kind of questions that actually are brought down as far as the laws of Tchumim, of Erev Tchumim. If Elijah the prophet technically is going to be able to walk into Tferi, into Tiberias, the Gemara says maybe he's going to be hanging around quietly. There's all kind of questions. How halachically can Elijah the prophet come to announce the coming of Mashiach? So the Rebbe says all those limitations are nullified. No more questions. Even the limitations that the Gemara says, that Mashiach, the son of David, is not going to come. For instance, Arvi Shabbasis, that says that on Friday, the Mashiach is not going to come. The people are going to be, God have to make the chant, come back on Sunday. Any other limitations? Elamai, yesh kushya. You have a question. How could it be if the Gemara clearly said Mashiach won't come on a Friday? When Mashiach comes and he has a long list of questions he has to answer, this will be one of the questions he has to explain. The Rebbe says, we can't have any hold up anymore. No more limitations. The Gemara says he can't come this day, he can't come that day. You have to wait for 70 stars. We don't have to wait for 70 stars, 70 days. Mashiach should come now. And the Rebbe said, the Rebbe said to sing the song on Imamim, and afterwards he said to sing the song of the Shpal Zayd Kazak. The Rebbe said like this. Now the Rebbe is going to go into a vart on Slichos. Lately, the custom has been, Nasa Minig, the custom is, Limser Eze Inyan Beis HaKnesses, that we should say something over in Shul with regard to a message to inspire people on Shabbos. The custom is that all good rabbis have a good sermon on Shabbos before Slichos to awaken people to come to Slichos, inspire about Slichos. The Rebbe says, I'm going to say something now about Slichos, and hopefully, obviously, the boys that go out and give over the Rebbe's Torah that afternoon should say over this idea to people. The Rebbe says like this, when it comes to Slichos, we say, you have the tzedakah. Tzedakah could be righteousness or it's charity. And we have a shameful face. What are we saying to God when we say that verse? We say that all the time in Slichos. God is just, He's right. Like he says in Yiddish, by the Eibishtem is gerechkeit. God is right. When we want to have a conversation, He's right, and we're wrong. God is righteous in all His ways. Vilo anu and us, we've done things that are negative. Shinasu b'meshach hashana, I'm not going to say bilti ritzuyim. The Rebbe says not positive. Shinasu b'meshach hashana, that we've done throughout the year. We should be bashful. We should be shame. We should have shame for our behavior. We say that's what we say to God in Slichos. You're right. You have tzedek. Tzedek is with you. We're shameful. We know what we've done throughout this past year. However, the Rebbe continues. The fee appears there based on the way we translate it this way, that God is right and we're wrong, so to say, and therefore we have what to be embarrassed about. If that's the case, that we're saying God is just, the language is wrong. It should have said L'cha Hashem tzedek. God has tzedek. Why does it say L'cha Hashem tzedakah? Lama nemer l'haloshin tzedakah. Sheish b'zeh gam pirshin sin tzedakah lani. Tzedakah means literally to give charity to that poor person. Yuvim behegdim. So the Rebbe explains. What's the difference between tzedek and tzedakah? Just and charity. The huge difference. In letters, it's hey, right? Tzedek pirushay. When you say justice, if you give someone for their efforts, schari means for their work, for what you've told them, you hire someone and you pay someone their salary. You're not giving charity. You're not being kind. You're doing what you have to. That's tzedek. That's just. You made a deal. I'm going to pay you $15 an hour, and you pay them. Then you're doing what you have to do. Aval tzedakah pirush. Tzedakah is the total opposite. You're giving someone something for free, a gift for free. Tzedek is what the person deserves. Tzedakah is a gift, a free gift. Not only doesn't this person deserve any payment, tzedek is even more than a gift. A gift has in it an agenda. Like it says, the Gemara says, why would you gift someone? Only because you take pleasure from gifting this person, you gift this person. You don't gift someone you don't like. Because you like this person, whatever it is that you have a reason that you feel good about gifting this person, so there's some sort of transaction. That person is making you feel good, and therefore you're giving a gift. There's some sort of transaction happening. But tzedakah there's no transaction. The other person is not giving you anything. You're mamish giving. It's like a matnas chinam. So why are you giving this person? It's mamish a free gift. There's no return for the person who's giving. So that's the second way we say to God. That's why we don't say tzedek. We say tzedakah. We means to say both ideas. We're telling God 2 points. First, you should know you're right. You're right and we're shameful. And then we feel that when we say to God, you're right. So if he's right, in the case when he's right and he has to give is one thing. But if he's right, he doesn't have to give. Because in our case, we're shameful. We have no, in a just conversation, we have nothing on God to demand. Litvaya means to demand. So all we could do is ask for tzedakah. So we say to God, you're right, and therefore the only thing we're asking for is charity, because it's lo magia lanu. It's not that you owe us anything. Kamoi, like he says, sha'imrim b'slichos halashim. There's another expression brought down in Slichos. It says, we don't have the face to even show ourselves to you, to ask. We're asking for you to give us tzedakah, to give us charity. The Rebbe says, so seemingly the Chashem and tzedakah we're saying to God that you're right, and therefore everything you give us is in a way of charity, where there's no return, we're not giving you anything back. The Rebbe says, first of all, you could argue on that. The Rebbe says, actually, we have what this demand from God, even according to justice. The Rebbe says every Jew is a prince and a princess. Ben Melech, and the law is, if you're a prince, you wanted us to do something. A prince doesn't have to do anything. It's not accustomed to do any work. Ben Melech. The Rebbe says, first of all, a prince shouldn't have to do anything. Everything should be done for him or her, the prince or princess. And the fact that I'm the son, we're the sons of and daughters of a king, any small effort that we put in, I feel the Rebbe says, Gar Kleinkeit, even something small, it's a big thing for a prince or princess to have to do. A prince or princess sit down, everything gets done for them. So therefore, God should be grateful for anything we do. The Rebbe is making the opposite argument. Avoida kosher magilei tashlim gadol. For a prince or princess to do anything is very difficult because they're not used to working, and therefore they deserve great reward for everything we do. But so the Rebbe says, so why do we say the Chashem at tzedakah that you're tzedek, you're right, and it's only tzedakah? If we could say everyone did a few things, so why can't we demand for the fact that we're prince and princesses? So here the Rebbe explains. If that's the argument we want to come to in Slichos, and tell God, we're a prince, we're a princess, we deserve anything we've done, you should be grateful. Then the Rebbe says, then God would, then the place of that kind of reward, there's a low shelf for that checkbook. That's not coming from a high place. It's coming from a place, okay, fine, it's a light that's relatable to the world. You're a prince, you're a princess, everything you've done is a big deal, so therefore we're going to give you, it's all mathematics, it's all what's called lights that connected to the world. That's where our small avodah reaches. Or mugbal, which is very limited. We're not interested in cashing in small reward for small efforts because we're cashing in small lights. We say, forget that. Never mind anything small we did. Let's pretend we didn't do anything. We want to talk about the big lights and the big lights and the great lights that are limitless. There we have no tzedek, we have no justice, and therefore we say L'cha Hashem tzedakah. So like he says, Adam Razak Omer, the Rebbe said, the Alter Rebbe used to say, the famous saying, Mili b'shamayim, who's with me in heaven? Meaning to say levels of godliness that's with God. Ve'imcha, things that are with you, lechfatz, they don't know. I don't want levels that are with you. I don't want anything. I don't need your Garden of Eden. I don't need your world to come. I want you. The Alter Rebbe used to say, don't talk to me about there's a Garden of Eden, or don't talk to me about there's a world to come. That's all manifestations, it's all levels. I want God. Ich will, and the Rebbe says in Yiddish, ich will zech gar nicht, I don't want anything. Ich will nicht an Gan Eden, I don't want your Garden of Eden. Ich will nicht an Eilam Haba, don't reward me with your world to come. Ich will mer nicht as dich allein, I want you, God, only you. And if you want that, that's not tzedek, then you have no argument for that. You have to hope that God gives you that. The Rebbe says that's the Alter Rebbe talking. The Alter Rebbe understands what's Garden of Eden. He understands what is the world to come, and he knows how to say he doesn't want it, and he wants only God. That kind of focus, that kind of quest that a person should only want Hashem, nothing, no manifestation, no reward. That's a high level. The Rebbe says, nevertheless, we're all the students of the Alter Rebbe. We go in his ways. Even if not, we're at least in the neighborhood. The Alter Rebbe is the Rav. We have the obligation, we have the merit that we could behave in his ways. The Rebbe says, we could act in the ways of the Alter Rebbe and even say we don't want manifestations, we don't want Garden of Eden, we don't want the world to come, we want only God. Even if it's a high level, but we're his students, and therefore we're going to say the things and we're going to try to relive the things that he's experiencing. What does it mean when a person says that what's with me in heaven I don't want? Go out of your comfort zone, go out of your limitations. Go out of yourself. Go out of your limits. Just do what God wants from you. And when you get out of your limits, even if it's your limits, then you're in a place of limitless. Then what comes to you? It's without limitations. When you get out of your limitations, you're in a space of limitless, and therefore what's coming to you is limitless. The Rebbe continues. Finish the Farbrengen. We say, all we're asking from you, God, is to give us charity. We don't want to come to you with a book that you have to give us, because those levels are low levels. Forget about what we've done. We've done nothing. But we want you, and therefore we want tzedakah. We want the levels that are beyond us. Like the Rebbe says, not because we cannot demand. We can demand if we wanted to. We don't want to demand. Demanding already puts us in space of people and things and questions. We're not interested. We don't have to do with anyone. We only want God. We want the face of God. And what is the vessel that we could say, that all we want is Hashem? What is the vessel to seek the face of God? You can't sit there and argue with God. You have a conversation, I did so much, you owe me. You have calculations, you have a whole math book to demand from God. At the end of the day, you think you're righteous, what did you really give him? So what is the real way to go into Slichos? What is the real way to go into Rosh Hashanah? Just to say to God, we're shameful, we're bashful. Get rid of yourself, get rid of the self. And that is the vessel, unrin, that you could touch. The essence of God, to take from the essence, not from any manifestation. And therefore anything that comes from the essence, so high, it's as if it's coming in the way of charity. Notwithstanding that if we touch the essence, we're touching a place that even our avodah doesn't matter. Nevertheless, Hashem enabled the Jewish people. That was given to us from above. That we could seek from there. Where's there? So the Likkutei Torah says there could be a negative place. But there, negative also is the essence. Sham is the essence. And you'll find. Litzvaya shitun lem tzedakah. We could say to Hashem that we're touching the essence, not because we're worthy, not because you owe us, but we're touching the essence because we want to have from the place that's beyond our avodah. And we're confident that we can accomplish this. Because we know we can accomplish this, it's brought down Leif Shem Levan, and we walk into Rosh Hashanah already dressed in white, symbolizing our confidence to have interactions with the essence of God. And we're confident and positive. Hashem is going to fulfill the desires of our heart, the toiv in only good things. With blessings for our children, chaya, you have long, healthy life, umazainin, an abundance of parnasa, revicha, in a way of an abundance, l'shana taiv masuka, to good, sweet year, begashmis, in a physical sense, ubruchnis, in a spiritual sense. And after the Rebbe Fabreng, the Rebbe closed off the Fabrengen. After the Rebbe said the bracha achrona, the Rebbe says like this: the Rebbe spoke about the continuation of the parshas, meaning that we go from Vayelech into Hazinu. Shemi parshas Vayelech Cholchel parshas Hazinu. And after one says, once we read Vayelech, we read Hazinu, even though Hazinu will be read next year, so to say, in parshas Shabbos Tshuva, the day after Rosh Hashanah. Shagam la'achri Vayelech Moshe. Even after Moshe went, that God completed the lives and the days of Moshe. Even after he passed away. We still, even though Moshe is physically not here with us, we could still say to this to heaven, Hazinu Shemaim, listen, V'sishma Aretz, and the world should hear. What does it mean? What kind of confidence do we have that we could say, Hazinu Shemaim, listen, heaven, V'sishma Aretz, pay attention. The earth should pay attention, is because a Jew is a balbas, is a master over heaven and earth. We shouldn't get overwhelmed by anything. Don't let anyone else overwhelm us in what we have to be doing. And the Rebbe finished off with the message that we have from our Rebbes, starting from the Alter Rebbe. Whether you are a businessman or a person who learns Torah all day, we have to be experts. The Rebbe quoted that not quoting here, but there's a quote from the Friedrich Rebbe that if we were experts in Hazinu, then it brings parnasa, it brings bracha. So the Rebbe says people should be experts, study Hazinu, know it by heart. That's one of the things we can know by heart. And I wish everyone a good Shabbos, a happy Slichos. We should go like the Rebbe says, we should go in jumping and simcha into Slichos, and we'll jump into Shana Tov Mesukah, and we'll see you guys, those who join the next class on Likutei Torah before Rosh Hashanah. Take care, Laila Tov. Good Shabbos.
Thank you.